If you've always felt like you don't quite belong here, like you're observing humanity from a slight distance even while living among them, like there's something ancient inside you that remembers things Earth has forgotten, you might not be imagining it. Many who identify as Arcturian Starseeds describe this exact feeling. Not lost, not broken, just fundamentally different in a way that's hard to explain to people who don't feel it themselves. Stop for a moment. Feel into this. Have you always known things you had no way of knowing? Have you felt compassion for people without needing to absorb their pain? Do hierarchies and control systems make your soul recoil even when they make logical sense? Do you set boundaries so naturally that others call you cold when really you're just clear? Have you spent your entire life trying to figure out why you can't just be normal, why you can't just feel things the way everyone else seems to, why you can't just go along with systems that everyone else accepts without question? Those who resonate with Arcturian energy describe these traits as signatures, not personality quirks, not trauma responses, not things you developed through experience. Soul markers, evidence of an origin point that isn't Earth, evidence that you came from somewhere else, brought something specific, and incarnated here with a template that doesn't quite match the human default. If this transmission found you, there's a reason. Something in you recognized the frequency, something remembered, something said yes before your mind could even process what that yes meant. And if you're feeling emotional right now, if your chest is tight, if something in you is waking up, that's not random, that's recognition, that's your soul responding to its own frequency, being reflected back to it. What I'm about to share comes from the collective experience of those who identify as Arcturian Starseeds and have spent years, sometimes decades, understanding what that means, how it shows up, why it matters, and what to do with it. This framework may help you understand why you've always felt this way, why you've never quite fit, why you've been called cold, detached, difficult, or strange, why you've struggled in relationships that others navigate easily, why you've questioned authority that others accept, why you've maintained boundaries that others blur. But as always, your inner knowing is the final authority. No one can tell you what you are. You can only recognize it yourself. If you're here, you may be about to discover something you've suspected your whole life, but never had language for, that you're not from here, not originally, that your soul's origin point is elsewhere, that you came here with specific traits, specific gifts, specific ways of operating that feel foreign on Earth because they are foreign, and that the feeling of being different, of being other, of being separate, isn't a wound to heal. It's not something wrong with you. It's not evidence that you're broken or damaged or emotionally stunted. It's a feature, not a bug. It's your soul signature. It's what you brought. Tonight, you'll discover what many describe as the core signs of Arcturian Starseed origin, why detached compassion is your natural state and not emotional unavailability, why control systems make you physically uncomfortable at a soul level, how boundary mastery comes naturally to you when others struggle with it, why you remember ancient truths you never learned in this lifetime, the other traits that mark Arcturian souls incarnated on Earth, what this means for your life, your relationships and your mission, and why discovering this changes everything about how you see yourself and your purpose here. This goes beyond belief, beyond identity seeking, beyond trying to feel special or different or better than. Those who genuinely carry Arcturian frequency describe recognition, not invention, a remembering, not a claiming, a relaxing into truth, not a grasping for belonging or significance. When you recognize yourself as Arcturian, many describe it not as finding something new, but as finally having words for something old, something you've always known but couldn't explain, something that's been there your entire life, marking you as different, making you feel alien, creating distance between you and others. Your soul came from somewhere, and if every cell in your body just responded to the word Arcturian, if something ancient just woke up and said yes, if you felt a pull in your chest or a knowing in your gut, that might be your first sign. Let's see if the others match. Take a breath. Notice how you feel right now. If you're already emotional, already feeling seen, already thinking finally someone understands, that's not coincidence. That's recognition. That's your soul saying you're in the right place. That's frequency resonance. You found your frequency family. Let's begin. Those who identify as Arcturian Starseeds describe their soul origin as the Arcturian star system, specifically connected to the star Arcturus in the Bootes constellation, a civilization many report as being millions of years more advanced than Earth, operating at a significantly higher frequency, focused primarily on healing, teaching, technological advancement, and the integration of technology with spirituality. Arcturians, as many describe them through channeled information and soul memory, are not emotional in the human sense. They're not cold, they're not unfeeling, they're clear. They process information through logic and energy rather than through feeling and drama. They value efficiency, precision, truth, and direct communication. They operate from a place of detached compassion rather than merged empathy. They maintain strong energetic boundaries. They function in non-hierarchical systems based on skill and contribution rather than power and control. Those who carry Arcturian soul signatures report feeling like they're part human, part something else. The human part feels emotions, forms attachments, experiences Earth life with all its intensity and messiness. The Arcturian part observes, analyzes, maintains perspective, stays connected to higher frequency regardless of circumstances, and processes everything through a lens of logic and energy dynamics. Many describe this split as profoundly disorienting in childhood. You felt things, but you also watched yourself feel things. You had emotions, but there was always a part of you standing back observing those emotions with curiosity rather than being swept away by them. You cared about people, but from a slight distance that others found confusing or hurtful. You participated in life, but part of you always felt like an anthropologist studying human behavior rather than a human fully immersed in it. Those identifying as Arcturian Starseeds often report that adults found them strange as children, too serious, too analytical, too calm, too detached. Teachers said they seemed older than their years. Parents worried they weren't emotional enough. Other children found them weird because they didn't get excited about the things everyone else got excited about. They didn't cry easily. They didn't throw tantrums. They didn't need constant reassurance. They were self-contained in a way that looked like emotional distance, but was actually just a different operating system. Many Arcturian Starseeds describe spending years in therapy trying to figure out why they couldn't connect the way others did, why relationships felt exhausting, why they needed so much alone time, why other people's emotional intensity felt overwhelming and unnecessary. And many describe discovering that this dual nature isn't a dissociation disorder or emotional avoidance or attachment issues from childhood trauma. It's how Arcturian consciousness naturally operates when incarnated in human form. The capacity to be deeply present and slightly detached simultaneously, to care profoundly without losing yourself in the caring, to love without needing, to help without attaching to outcomes, to witness suffering without drowning in it, to hold space without fixing, to connect without merging. If this resonates, if you've spent your whole life trying to figure out why you can't just be normal and emotional like everyone else, why you can't just lose yourself in relationships like others do, why you can't just feel things without analyzing them, this might be your answer. You're not broken, you're not emotionally damaged, you're not avoidant or detached in a pathological way, you're Arcturian. And what others call emotional unavailability, what therapists might pathologize, what partners complain about, those who understand this energy call mastery. It's not a wound, it's a gift, it's what you brought to model. Here's one of the clearest Arcturian markers, one of the traits that most consistently appears in those who identify with this frequency. Detached compassion. Not reduced compassion, not cold compassion, not lack of empathy. Detached. You feel deep care for others. You genuinely want to help. You're drawn to healing, teaching, counseling, or service work of some kind. But you don't absorb people's pain. You don't take on their emotions as if they were your own. You don't lose yourself in their drama. You can sit with someone while they cry and remain calm. You can hold space for someone's suffering without suffering yourself. You can witness someone's pain without needing to fix it immediately, or take it away, or make it better right now. You can love someone deeply without needing to merge with them energetically, without needing to know every feeling they have, without needing constant emotional exchange to feel connected. Many Arcturian Starseeds report that this trait caused significant problems in relationships throughout their lives. Romantic partners accuse them of being emotionally unavailable, of not caring enough, of being too detached, of not being present even when they were physically right there. Friends said they were too logical, too calm, too unaffected by things that should be devastating. Family members complained they didn't show enough emotion, didn't cry at funerals, didn't get excited enough at celebrations, didn't seem to need people the way people should need each other. But those who identify with Arcturian energy describe knowing, deep down, that these accusations weren't accurate. They cared deeply, they loved fully, they just cared and loved differently. They cared with boundaries, with clarity, with the ability to help without drowning, with the capacity to be fully present without losing themselves in the process. Here's how detached compassion shows up in practical, everyday situations. Someone tells you their problem, a real problem, something painful, and you immediately see the solution. You see it clearly, logically, obviously. You offer it calmly, clearly, without emotional charge. This is what you need to do. This is how you solve this. And they get upset. Not because your solution is wrong, often it's exactly right, but because you're not being emotional enough about their situation. You're not matching their intensity. You're not suffering with them. You're solving. And they didn't want solutions yet. They wanted you to feel their pain with them first, to validate the suffering, to sit in it together. Only then could they consider solutions. But you skipped that step, because to you it was unnecessary. Why sit in suffering when you can move directly to solving? Different languages, different approaches, different operating systems. Arcturian versus human. Or someone is crying, really crying, devastated about something. You sit with them. You're fully there. Your presence is solid, grounded, stable. But you're not crying. You're not emotionally reactive. You're holding space. You're the anchor. You're the calm in their storm. And afterwards, they feel better because your stability helped them find their own. And you feel fine, completely fine. You didn't take anything on. You didn't absorb their grief. You witnessed it, held space for it, and remained clear. This confuses people. People who think real empathy, real love, real connection means absorbing others' emotions, suffering when they suffer, drowning when they drown. But those who understand Arcturian frequency describe this as advanced empathy, the kind that actually helps instead of creating two suffering people instead of one. The kind that allows you to be present for countless people without burning out because you're not taking on their energetic load. Many Arcturian Starseeds report that they had to learn to fake emotional responses to fit in, to make others comfortable, to prove they cared, to mirror others' intensity even when they didn't feel it, to cry when everyone else was crying, even if they felt calm, to pretend they were more affected than they actually were, to perform emotion, not because they didn't care, but because their natural level of calm, clear, boundaried compassion made others deeply uncomfortable. It threatened people. It made them feel like you didn't really care, like you weren't really there, like something was wrong with you, and so you learned to perform, to exaggerate your reactions, to be more emotional than felt natural. Many describe this performance as exhausting, and many describe finally understanding their Arcturian nature as permission to stop performing. If this is you, if you've spent years trying to be more emotional, more affected, more merged with others' feelings, more willing to suffer when others suffer just to prove you care, you can stop now. Your detached compassion isn't a flaw. It's not emotional unavailability. It's not evidence of trauma or attachment issues. It's your soul template. It's your gift. It's how you help without burning out. It's how you hold space for dozens, hundreds, thousands of people over a lifetime without collapsing. It's how you love without losing yourself. It's how you serve without martyrdom. Those who identify as Arcturian describe finally understanding this as profoundly liberating. They weren't emotionally stunted or damaged or broken. They were operating from a different frequency, a higher frequency in some ways, one that Earth desperately needs but doesn't yet understand. They stopped trying to be human empaths and started being Arcturian healers, and everything shifted. Here's another clear, undeniable Arcturian marker, one that probably got you in trouble your whole life. Those who carry this frequency report a visceral, almost physical aversion to being controlled, not rebelliousness for rebellion's sake, not teenage angst, not anti-authority personality disorder, a soul-level rejection of hierarchies, power structures, and anyone attempting to exert authority over them without earned respect and logical reason. Many Arcturian Starseeds describe having problems with authority figures from a very young age. Teachers who demanded obedience without explanation, who said "because I said so" and expected compliance, who wielded power based on their position rather than their wisdom. Your soul recoiled, not loudly, not with tantrums, but with quiet, immovable refusal. Parents who insisted on rules that made no sense, who demanded obedience to arbitrary standards, who tried to control through guilt or manipulation or force. You complied outwardly when you had to, but internally you dismissed their authority. You weren't rebellious in the typical sense. You didn't fight. You just didn't accept their right to control you. Bosses who wielded power arbitrarily, who created hierarchies based on ego rather than competence, who demanded things that made no logical sense and became angry when you questioned. You didn't last long in those jobs. Religious leaders who claimed special access to truth, who demanded unquestioning faith, who used fear and guilt to maintain control, who built hierarchies with themselves at the top. You walked away, not loudly, just clearly. Politicians who manipulated through fear, who made decisions based on power rather than service, who lied and expected people to believe them. You saw through them instantly. Every single one of these authority figures triggered something deep in Arcturian souls. Not anger exactly. Revulsion, a feeling of wrongness so profound it's almost physical. You don't rebel loudly. That's not your way. You don't argue or fight or make a scene. You simply refuse to comply. You don't waste energy trying to change the authority figure's mind. You mentally dismiss them and do what you know is right, regardless of their demands. You don't need to overthrow the system, join protests, or fight the power. You just operate outside it as much as possible, building your life in ways that minimize the control others can exert over you. Those identifying with Arcturian frequency describe this trait as getting them in trouble throughout life in consistent, predictable ways. Fired from jobs for not being a team player, when really they just wouldn't follow orders that didn't make logical sense or serve a genuine purpose. Kicked out of religious communities for asking questions that threatened the power structure, for refusing to accept claims without evidence, for seeing through manipulation tactics, ending relationships. Sometimes relationships with otherwise good people, because those people tried to control or manipulate them, because they pulled rank, used guilt, made demands, crossed boundaries, or insisted on compliance. But here's what many Arcturian Starseeds report understanding later, often after years of being told they were difficult or rebellious or problematic. This wasn't a character flaw. This wasn't immaturity or inability to work with others or authority issues stemming from childhood. This was soul integrity. This was template purity. Arcturian civilization, as those who resonate with this energy describe it through channeled information and soul memory, operates without hierarchy, without power over dynamics, without control systems, without anyone telling anyone else what to do based on rank or position or claimed authority. Everyone has complete sovereignty. Everyone operates from inner authority. Everyone contributes based on ability and interest and natural inclination, not based on obedience to those above them. Decisions are made through consensus and logic, not through force or manipulation. The concept of someone having power over someone else is foreign to Arcturian consciousness. So when you, as an Arcturian soul, incarnated in a human body on Earth, encounter human control systems, which are everywhere, something in you rejects it at the deepest possible level. It's not psychological, it's not behavioral, it's not chosen, it's automatic. It's your soul recognizing something fundamentally wrong, fundamentally against your nature, fundamentally incompatible with how you're designed to operate. Not because you're difficult, not because you can't work with others, but because you remember, at a soul level, what it's like to live in a civilization without control, without hierarchy, without power dynamics. And once you've experienced that, even if the memory is unconscious, you can't unknow it. You can't pretend it's normal or acceptable for one person to have power over another without consent. Here's how this shows up in everyday life. Someone tells you, "Because I said so," and your entire body says no, not your mind, your body. It's a physical revulsion. Someone tries to manipulate you emotionally, using guilt or shame or obligation, and you feel it instantly and shut down completely. Not angrily, you just become unavailable. Someone attempts to use authority to control your choices, and you feel physical disgust. Someone pulls rank, invokes their position, demands compliance without explanation, threatens consequences if you don't obey, and you walk away without a second thought. The relationship ends, the job ends, the situation ends, because you won't be controlled. Not because you're difficult, because you can't be controlled. Your soul literally doesn't have that mechanism. It's not part of your template. Many Arcturian Starseeds report that this trait made them look arrogant, difficult, oppositional, unable to work with others, unemployable, or relationship resistant. People said they had authority issues, that they needed therapy, that they were too independent, too stubborn, too unwilling to compromise. But those who understand Arcturian energy describe it as sovereignty, pure, uncompromising sovereignty. You're not controlled because you can't be controlled. You respond to reason, to mutual respect, to collaborative problem solving, to logic and clear communication, to genuine competence that earns respect. But the moment someone tries to impose their will on you through force, manipulation, claimed authority, or any form of control, you're done. Immediately, completely, non-negotiably. If this is you, if you've been called stubborn, rebellious, difficult, oppositional, unable to submit, unwilling to respect authority, or impossible to manage, consider that you might not be any of those things. You might just be an Arcturian soul, trying to maintain your sovereignty in a control-based system, trying to live with freedom and self-determination on a planet that demands obedience and compliance. And that's not a flaw. That's not something to fix. That's your template. That's your soul's operating system. That's what you came here to model. How to live in sovereignty, how to maintain your authority over yourself, how to refuse control without aggression, how to build systems based on mutual respect rather than hierarchy. You're not here to submit. You're here to demonstrate a different way. Those who identify as Arcturian Starseeds describe boundary mastery as one of their most natural, most automatic abilities, not something they had to learn through therapy or self-help books or painful lessons, something they came in with, something that was always there. You don't struggle with boundaries the way others do. You don't have to journal about them or affirmation your way into them or build them through years of practice. You know what's yours and what isn't. You know what you will and won't accept. You know where you end and others begin. You know what feels right and what doesn't. And you maintain these lines with an ease that others find baffling, threatening, or sometimes even offensive. Many Arcturian Starseeds report that this trait caused more friction in relationships than almost anything else. Partners complained they were too rigid, too inflexible, too unwilling to bend. Family members said they were selfish, cold, uncaring, putting themselves first when they should be sacrificing for the family. Friends accused them of not caring enough because they wouldn't abandon their own needs, wouldn't change their plans, wouldn't drop everything to help. But those who carry Arcturian frequency describe knowing, with absolute certainty, that their boundaries weren't rigidity, they were clarity, they weren't selfishness, they were self-preservation, they weren't lack of care, they were sustainable care, they weren't about not loving people, they were about loving people in a way they could maintain long-term without depletion, without resentment, without collapse. Here's how Arcturian boundaries work in practical terms. Someone asks you for something that crosses your line. Maybe it's your time when you need rest. Maybe it's emotional labor you don't have capacity for. Maybe it's money you don't have to spare. Maybe it's a violation of your values or your needs. You simply say no. No justification, no long explanation, no apology, no guilt, just no, and you mean it. It's not harsh, it's not cold, it's just clear, and to you that clarity feels respectful, but to others, especially others conditioned to expect people to bend, it feels shocking. Someone tries to guilt you into changing your boundary. They tell you you're being selfish. They say if you really cared, you'd do this. They remind you of times they helped you. They make you responsible for their feelings about your boundary, and you remain completely unmoved, not because you don't care about them, but because you understand at a soul level that their discomfort with your boundary is not your problem to solve. Your boundary is your boundary. Their feelings about it are theirs to manage. You won't set yourself on fire to keep them warm. Someone accuses you of being cold or uncaring or selfish because you won't abandon your needs for theirs, won't sacrifice yourself to make them comfortable, won't betray yourself to maintain the relationship, and you understand immediately that their accusation is manipulation, whether conscious or unconscious, and you don't engage with it, you don't defend yourself, you don't justify, you don't explain further, you just maintain the boundary. Because the boundary is right, and their inability to respect it is information. Someone repeatedly violates your boundaries despite clear, direct, calm communication. You've told them multiple times, you've been clear, and they keep crossing the line, testing you, pushing, seeing if you really mean it, and you do mean it, so you remove them from your life. No drama, no big confrontation, no long explanations, no second chances, no trying to make them understand. You just quietly, calmly, completely remove them. The relationship ends, and to you this is obvious, logical, simple cause and effect. You communicated a boundary clearly, they chose not to respect it. The natural consequence is the relationship ends. No hard feelings, no anger, no revenge, just boundaries. But to others, especially to the person being removed, this looks harsh, cold, unforgiving. How can you just cut people off like that? How can you not give them another chance? How can you be so final? And you're confused by these questions, because to you the answer is obvious. They showed you who they are. They showed you they don't respect your boundaries. Why would you keep them in your life? Many Arcturian Starseeds report that they had to unlearn massive amounts of guilt around their natural boundary setting. Earth teaches that good people sacrifice themselves for others, that loving people blur their boundaries for connection, that healthy relationships require flexibility and compromise and bending. And while some flexibility is human and healthy and necessary, those who carry Arcturian frequency describe knowing that their natural boundary setting was not only okay, but absolutely necessary. They couldn't help anyone if they let everyone drain them. They couldn't maintain their high frequency if they let others pull them into dysfunction. They couldn't complete their mission if they spent all their energy managing others' feelings about their boundaries. If this is you, if you've been told your whole life that you're too rigid, too boundaried, too inflexible, too quick to cut people off, too unwilling to compromise, too selfish, too self-focused, consider that your boundary mastery might be one of your greatest Arcturian gifts. Not a flaw, a gift. You model for others what it looks like to maintain yourself while still caring deeply about people, to love without losing yourself, to give generously without depletion, to serve without martyrdom, to say no without guilt, to end relationships that no longer serve without drama, and in a world absolutely drowning in codependency, boundary violations, emotional manipulation, and martyrdom masquerading as love, that modeling is desperately, urgently needed. You're not too boundaried. Earth is under-boundaried, and you're here to show a different way. Here's one of the most profound, most undeniable Arcturian markers. One that you've probably had your entire life, but maybe dismissed as imagination, or coincidence, or just being smart. Those who carry this frequency describe knowing things they have no earthly way of knowing. Not psychic information exactly, though that might be present too. ancient information, universal truths, spiritual laws, how energy works, how consciousness operates, how reality forms, cosmic history, things that feel like memory rather than learning, things you've always known but can't explain how you know them. Many Arcturian Starseeds report that as children they would say things that shocked adults, profound statements about life, death, consciousness, the nature of reality, how things work at fundamental levels. When asked where they learned it, they couldn't say. They didn't learn it. They just knew. It was there, always. As adults, those identifying as Arcturian describe this continuing and actually intensifying as they awaken. You read spiritual or metaphysical information, and it's not new. It's not surprising. It's not even interesting in the sense of learning something you didn't know. It's familiar. You're remembering, not learning. You're recognizing, not discovering. Someone explains a complex spiritual concept, and you already understand it completely. You just needed the language. You needed the words to describe what you already knew, but couldn't articulate. You encounter ancient wisdom teachings from various cultures and traditions, and you recognize them as true before you can verify them, before you can prove them, before you can test them. You just know. Someone describes how energy works, and you nod because yes, that's exactly how it works. How did you know that? You've never studied energy work, but you know. You understand how consciousness operates, how it expands and contracts, how it focuses and diffuses, how it creates reality through attention and intention. You understand how souls evolve, what they're doing here, why they incarnate, what they're learning. You understand sacred geometry not as mathematics but as truth, as fundamental structure, as the language of creation. You look at a flower of life, or a Merkaba, or a torus, and you don't just see a pretty pattern, you see how reality is built. You understand quantum physics concepts before you study them, because they match what you already know about how reality operates. Not because you studied it, because you remember it, because your soul has this information encoded, because you came from a civilization millions of years ahead of Earth, and that knowledge is still accessible to you at some level. Many Arcturian Starseeds describe this knowing as including specific information about Earth's history that mainstream education doesn't teach and actively suppresses, about civilizations that rose and fell, about Atlantis, Lemuria, ancient Egypt, and other advanced societies, about extraterrestrial involvement in human development, in seeding consciousness here, in guiding evolution, in providing technology and knowledge, about the true nature of consciousness and reality that materialist science denies, about why souls incarnate on Earth specifically and what they're here to learn and contribute, about the shift happening now on Earth and why it's significant and what role starseeds play. When they encounter this information later through research, through channeled material, through other awakened people, it confirms what they already sensed. It gives words to the knowing that was already there. Those who carry Arcturian frequency often report being drawn to specific subjects like sacred geometry, energy healing, consciousness studies, quantum physics, ancient civilizations, archaeoastronomy, cosmic history, multidimensional reality, or extraterrestrial contact, not as casual interests, not as hobbies, as remembering, as coming home to knowledge they once had full, conscious access to, as recovering what was temporarily forgotten during the incarnation process. They devour this information, not to learn, to remember, and the remembering is often emotional. Tears come, the chest tightens, something inside says yes, this, I remember this, I know this is true. If this is you, if you've always known things you couldn't explain, if learning feels more like remembering, if ancient wisdom texts feel like reading your own journals from another time, if you understand complex concepts instantly that others struggle with for years, this is a clear Arcturian signature. Your soul is old, very, very old, and it remembers, and that remembering is starting to surface, and it's not your imagination, it's your heritage, it's your inheritance. It's what you brought with you when you came. Those who identify as Arcturian Starseeds describe additional traits that commonly, almost universally appear in this soul group. These traits taken individually might not mean much. Many people have some of these, but taken together, they create a profile, a signature, a pattern that's distinctly Arcturian. See how many of these resonate. Count them as you go. You're drawn to technology and spirituality equally and see no contradiction between them. Many Arcturians report being naturally tech-savvy, understanding how systems work, drawn to engineering or programming or design, while simultaneously being deeply spiritual, working with energy, connected to higher realms. They don't see these as separate. They're both systems, both languages, both ways of understanding reality. You prefer logic and clarity over emotional processing when solving problems. When problems arise, you want solutions, not sympathy. You analyze rather than catastrophize. You break things down into components. You identify root causes. You design fixes. You implement solutions. Other people's emotional approach to problems feels inefficient to you. You're uncomfortable with emotional intensity and drama. Other people's emotional storms feel chaotic and unnecessary. You don't understand why people need to feel feelings for so long before moving to solutions. You can remain calm and clear when everyone around you is panicking. Many Arcturian Starseeds describe being the person others turn to in crisis, precisely because they stay grounded, because they don't get swept up in the panic, because they think clearly under pressure. You value efficiency and precision. Waste bothers you. Inefficiency frustrates you. You see faster, better ways to do things, and you're genuinely confused when others resist optimization, when they insist on doing things the hard way, because that's how we've always done it. You have a strong inner compass and rarely need external validation. You don't need teachers to tell you what's true. You don't follow spiritual leaders blindly. You test everything against your inner knowing. You're not impressed by claims of authority or special access to truth. You want to verify for yourself. You're drawn to healing work, but in a specific way, not emotional healing necessarily. Systematic healing. Many Arcturians become doctors, therapists, energy healers, body workers, or teachers. They help people, but from that detached, compassionate space we discussed. They heal without taking on the illness. They support without drowning. They guide without controlling. You feel isolated even when surrounded by people. Most humans operate at a frequency that feels foreign to you. You can be with them, you can care about them, but you're not of them. You're here but not from here, and that creates a fundamental loneliness that most people don't understand. You're highly sensitive to energy, but not in an overwhelming way. You feel what's in a room instantly. You sense what people are really feeling beneath their words. You know when someone is lying. You perceive energy dynamics, but you observe it rather than absorb it. You're an energy reader, not an energy sponge. You have very few close relationships, but the ones you have are deep. You don't need many people. You need the right people. People who understand you, who match your frequency, who don't need you to perform emotion or blur your boundaries or be more human. The relationships you do have, you value intensely. You might have strong opinions about injustice and suffering, but you address it through systems thinking rather than emotional reaction. You want to fix root causes, not apply band-aids. You think about structural solutions, policy changes, system redesigns. You don't just want to help this one person, you want to fix the system that created the problem so no one has to suffer this way. Many Arcturian Starseeds report being drawn to science, technology, medicine, engineering, systems design or social innovation as careers. They want to solve problems at scale, they want to optimize, they want to build better systems. You might have always felt older than your age. Even as a child, you had an ancient quality. You related better to adults than to children. Adults said you were an old soul, and they were right. You were, you are, you are. You might struggle with feeling emotions the way others describe feeling them. You feel them, but differently. Less intensely, more briefly. They pass through you, rather than getting stuck. You process and release quickly. What takes others weeks or months to work through, you complete in hours or days. And finally, you might have a deep, aching longing for home that Earth has never satisfied. A homesickness for a place you can't consciously remember but can feel. A knowing that somewhere out there is where you actually belong. And Earth, no matter how beautiful, no matter how much you care about it and the people here, will never fully feel like home. Many describe this as the ultimate Arcturian signature, the frequency memory of where you came from, the soul's recognition that this isn't your origin point. If most of these traits resonate, if you're reading this list and feeling seen in a way you've never felt seen before, if you're nodding through every point, if you're getting emotional because someone finally understands, you're likely carrying significant Arcturian frequency in your soul blueprint. Not all starseeds are Arcturian. There are many origins. But if you are Arcturian, these markers will feel like someone just described you with uncomfortable, undeniable accuracy, like someone looked into your soul and reported back exactly what they found. So you've recognized yourself. You're an Arcturian starseed. You've counted the traits and most of them match. You're feeling that frequency resonance, that yes, this is me certainty. Now what? What do you actually do with this information? Those who've walked this path describe several things as essential, as non-negotiable, if you want to live aligned with your soul template, rather than constantly fighting against it. First, and this is crucial, stop trying to be more human. You've probably spent years, maybe decades, maybe your entire life, trying to be more emotional, more affected, more engaged in drama, more willing to blur boundaries, more compliant with authority, more merged with others, more normal. Stop. Immediately. Completely. You're not here to become human. You already are human in body. You're here to bring Arcturian frequency into human form. That means staying clear, staying boundaried, staying detached in your compassion, staying sovereign in systems that demand compliance, staying calm in chaos, staying logical when others are emotional. That's your job. That's what you came to model. Second, embrace your natural way of operating without apologizing for it. Your logic, your clarity, your boundaries, your detachment, your need for efficiency, your discomfort with control, your ancient knowing. These aren't flaws to fix. They're features to celebrate. They're what you brought. They're your gifts. Stop trying to soften them, hide them, or apologize for them. Third, find your right work, the work that uses your natural abilities. Many Arcturian starseeds report that their mission involves healing, teaching, or system building, but in a specific way that matches their template. They heal through precision, technology, and clear protocols, not through emotional merging. They teach through logic, clarity, and systematic approaches, not through storytelling and emotional connection. They build systems that are efficient, fair, elegant, and serve the collective good. They optimize, they innovate, they solve problems. If you're in work that requires you to be emotionally merged, dramatically expressive, or constantly sacrificing your boundaries, you're in the wrong work. Find work that lets you be Arcturian. Fourth, understand what you're here to model. You're here to model something Earth needs desperately right now but doesn't yet understand. Compassion without codependency, service without martyrdom, love without loss of self, logic integrated with spirituality rather than separated from it, technology aligned with consciousness and used for healing rather than control, boundaries that create safety and sustainability rather than separation, sovereignty that doesn't require rebellion or aggression, clear communication without emotional manipulation, systems thinking that addresses root causes instead of symptoms. You're not here to fit into existing human systems. You're here to demonstrate alternatives, to show what's possible when you operate from a different frequency. Fifth, connect with other Arcturians. Those who identify with this frequency describe finding each other as profound relief. Finally, people who understand, who don't need emotional performance to believe you care, who respect boundaries without taking offense, who communicate directly without games, who think systemically, who value logic, who maintain that same clear, calm, slightly detached presence. These are your people, your frequency family. Find them, connect with them, build with them. Sixth, trust your ancient knowing completely. Stop dismissing it as imagination or coincidence. You remember things Earth has forgotten. You carry wisdom humanity needs. You understand how things work at levels most people haven't accessed. Don't diminish this. Don't hide it. Test it. Apply it. Share it when appropriate. Your knowing is one of your greatest gifts. Seventh, maintain your frequency no matter what. Earth is dense. The frequency here is heavy. Humans are often chaotic, emotional, dramatic, and operating from fear. You'll be constantly tempted, pressured, even demanded to lower your vibration to fit in, to match their intensity, to join the drama. Don't. Your job is to hold steady at your frequency and let others rise to meet you when they're ready. You're an anchor. An anchor doesn't move just because the water is choppy. It stays fixed. That's its purpose. That's your purpose. Hold your frequency. And eighth, be patient with yourself. You're an advanced soul from a highly evolved civilization, incarnated in a dense developing world, going through massive growing pains. It's not supposed to be easy. You're not supposed to fit in perfectly. You're supposed to feel different because you are different. That's the point. But it's also not supposed to be impossible. You have everything you need. Your template works. Your gifts are valuable. Your presence matters. Many Arcturian Starseeds described that once they stopped trying to be human in human ways and started embracing their Arcturian nature fully, everything shifted. They found their people. They found work that actually used their gifts. They found purpose that made sense. They stopped feeling wrong and started feeling aligned. They stopped fighting themselves and started working with themselves. They stopped apologizing and started owning their frequency. If you're reading this and recognizing yourself, that shift is available to you too. Right now, today, the moment you stop trying to be something you're not and start being fully what you are. Those who discover their Arcturian Starseed origin describe it as profoundly, deeply, sometimes overwhelmingly relieving. Not because it makes them special or chosen or better than anyone else, because it makes them make sense to themselves. Finally, after a lifetime of feeling wrong, feeling different, feeling broken, feeling like something was fundamentally off, they have context. The detached compassion isn't emotional unavailability, it's Arcturian nature. The boundary mastery isn't selfishness or coldness, it's soul template. It's what Arcturian consciousness does naturally. The aversion to control isn't rebelliousness or authority issues, it's sovereignty. It's remembering a civilization where no one controlled anyone. The ancient knowing isn't imagination or delusion, it's memory. It's information encoded at the soul level. You're not broken, you're not emotionally damaged, you're not cold or difficult or wrong, you're Arcturian. And everything that made you feel wrong on Earth, everything that made you feel alien and separate and other, makes perfect sense when understood through that lens. Many describe this recognition as allowing them to finally, after years or decades of trying, stop fighting themselves, to stop trying to force themselves into a human template that doesn't fit, to stop apologizing for being who they are, to relax into their actual nature and let that be enough, to trust that they're not wrong. Earth just operates differently, and that difference is exactly what they came here to bring, because it is enough. Actually, it's essential. Earth needs what you brought, desperately, urgently, now more than ever. Your clarity in a world drowning in confusion and propaganda, your boundaries in a world swimming in codependency and enmeshment, your logic integrated with spirituality in a world that split them apart and lost both. Your detached compassion in a world drowning in emotional overwhelm and burnout, your sovereignty in a world addicted to control and compliance, your ancient wisdom in a world that forgot its cosmic context and origin, your calm presence in a world of chaos and panic, your systematic thinking in a world addressing symptoms instead of root causes. You didn't come here to fit in. You weren't designed to fit in. You came here to bring something different, something foreign, something needed, something that feels alien, because it is alien, but also because it's exactly what this planet needs to evolve, to grow, to remember what it's forgotten. Those who identify as Arcturian describe their mission as actually quite simple once they understand it. Stay in your frequency. Don't let Earth pull you down into drama and chaos and fear. Maintain your boundaries. Don't blur them to make others comfortable. Offer your gifts from your natural state. Don't try to give in ways that deplete you. Model a different way. Show what's possible when you operate from clarity, logic, boundaries, and detached compassion. And trust that the people who need what you bring will find you. They'll recognize your frequency. They'll feel it. They'll be drawn to it. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to make humans understand you, or accept you, or validate you. You just have to be you, fully, clearly, unapologetically, and that frequency, that presence, that way of being does the work. It radiates, it teaches, it heals, it shifts things just by existing. If you're an Arcturian Starseed, you've been preparing for this your entire life. Every time you held your boundary, when everyone pressured you to blur it, you were training. Every time you stayed calm in chaos, you were practicing. Every time you chose logic over drama, you were strengthening your ability to hold your frequency. Every time you maintained detached compassion instead of merged empathy, you were mastering your gift. You're ready. You've always been ready. You just needed to remember what you are, and now you do. Now you know. The word Arcturian resonates in your soul. The traits match your experience. The frequency feels like home. So stop trying to be human. Be Arcturian. That's what you came here to be. That's what Earth needs you to be. Own it, claim it, live it, and watch everything shift. If you made it here, you know, something in this resonated at a level beyond words, beyond belief, beyond hoping. You recognized yourself, maybe for the first time, maybe confirming what you always suspected but never had language for. You're an Arcturian Starseed, not because you want to be special or different or part of something, because you recognize the frequency, because these traits aren't things you developed or learned or cultivated. They're things you've always had, things you were born with, things that made you feel alien on Earth because, in a very real sense, you are. Your soul came from elsewhere, brought something specific, and incarnated here to offer it. You're not less human because you're Arcturian, you're human plus. You experience Earth fully. But you also carry something Earth doesn't naturally produce. And that combination, that blend, that frequency is exactly what you're supposed to be. Before you go, I want you to do something right now. Place your hand on your heart. Take a deep breath and say this, out loud if possible, silently if not, but say it with full conviction. I am Arcturian. I remember. I am not broken. I am not cold. I am clear. I am boundaried. I am sovereign. I carry ancient wisdom, and that is my gift. That is my purpose. That is what I came here to bring. Feel that. Let it land in your body. Let it settle in your bones. Let it anchor in your soul. Many who identify as Arcturian describe this acknowledgement as powerful, as claiming what's true, as stopping the decades-long fight against yourself, and finally relaxing into what you actually are, not what you're supposed to be, not what others want you to be, what you actually are, and letting that be enough, letting that be everything. Now, in the comments, I want to know something. How many of these traits resonated? Give me a number. Count them. If most of them matched, if you felt seen through this entire transmission, if you found yourself nodding and getting emotional and thinking, finally someone understands, add the word home to your comment, because that's what this is. Coming home to yourself, to your frequency, to your people. Those who resonate with Arcturian frequency describe finding each other this way, through recognition, through frequency match, through that feeling of, oh, you too, you feel this too, you've experienced this too. You're not alone. There are thousands of others like you, tens of thousands, maybe more, and finding them, connecting with them, building with them changes everything. Everything, because suddenly you're not the weird one, you're not the broken one, you're just Arcturian among Arcturians, and it all makes sense. If you want to go deeper into understanding your Arcturian nature, how to work with it, how to use it in your mission, how to connect with your Arcturian guides more consciously, the Inner Circle offers specific content for starseeds. Practices for maintaining your frequency on Earth when everything is trying to pull you down. Techniques for working with your Arcturian guides and receiving their support. Understanding your specific mission and gifts based on your soul origin, and community with others who understand this experience from the inside. Not because they read about it, not because they think it sounds cool, because they live it, because they are it. The link is below if that calls to you. But whether you join or not, whether you ever engage with my content again or not, I want you to know something. You being here isn't random. You recognizing yourself isn't coincidence. And you feeling different your whole life isn't a problem to solve. It's a signature to honor, a frequency to maintain, a gift to give. You're Arcturian, and that means you brought something Earth needs. Your clarity, your boundaries, your detached compassion, your ancient knowing, your sovereignty, your logical spiritual integration, your calm in chaos, your systematic thinking, your frequency. Don't hide it. Don't dim it. Don't apologize for it. Don't try to make it more palatable or more human or more acceptable. Be it fully, unapologetically, radiantly. That's your mission. That's your gift. That's why you came. Welcome home, Arcturian. Welcome to understanding. Welcome to recognition. Welcome to finally making sense. You're not alone. You never were. And now you know why. Now you know what you are. Now you know what you brought. So go be it. The world is waiting.